Hello, I'm one of the editors for DR The Audio Project. Some of our voice actors was out of town and we needed some of their missing lines. So we asked the backups to record the missing lines for us instead. Lexamari is Yuko, KGohPro is Arisato, and Faited is Enjiro. Please enjoy the show.
DR The Audio Project is a non-profit fan-made series that is inspired by the Danganronpa series by Spike Chunsoft. We do not claim ownership over the Danganronpa series or the music in our episodes, with the exception of our opening and closing themes. Please support the official releases. Thank you for listening to the show!
Well, my little puppets. I hope you're having a good time listening to our friend's little misadventure. Death! I can't believe it! So gory! Poor misunderstood Seiichi. Who would have thought that he would be the kind to do something like that? Huh? You don't think it was a suicide? Well, it may come as a shock to you, but what actually happened was... No, I won't spoil it! We'll have a little fun, puppets. Let's see how dark we can really get.
Previously on DR The Audio Project.
Are you saying that someone was in his room with his corpse?
Yeah, fuck this. I'm not touching a dead body or any of that crap.
He's just hanging there. A remnant of what he used to be. Lifeless. His corpse drooping from the ceiling fan. Suicide. Too many thoughts are rushing through my head right now. I can't move. Seiichi, he's dead.
In Nevermore, death is knocking on my door. I am trying to relax, hoping all of this may pass. Everything that seems to be something now escaping me. I am trapped inside this room, praying to escape my doom. This fairy tale I wanted to live is not nothing but a reverie. Blood fills these halls, ghosts fill my thoughts. I pound myself against the wall. Awake nevermore, death is creeping ever forward. I am trying to relax, hoping all of this won't pass. Everything that seems to be something now escaping me. I am trapped inside this room, praying to escape my doom.
Nightmare at the Museum, Part 4.
Takuya, dearest, may I talk to you for just a few moments?
Sure, what's up?
While you were all investigating, I felt guilty. I should have at least tried to help, but I saw Seiichi and panicked. I just hope you understand, Starshine.
Of course I understand. It's not like you're the only one here who didn't help. We're all afraid, really. But if we want to get out of this together, then we have to do it by investigating for the trial. Otherwise, we're all goners.
To be honest, I thought you and the others were strong enough to stay. I didn't even consider how you were also scared.
Arisato.
Ever since we first woke up here, I was desperate to see the stars. Their guidance is what I really need right now. Without the stars, I feel so alone. It was the stars' presence that drew me to them in the first place. They accepted my curious mind and showed me what the world had to offer. It was incredible. For the first time, I was certain that I was brought to this earth for a reason. But I haven't seen the stars in so long. It hurts, but just like everyone else, I should power through.
Arisato? I've never seen him be so emotional. He always seemed like a guy who was always happy, even in these circumstances. I guess even guys like him have their limits.
That's right. Together, we can work past our fears and escape this place.
Either way, I won't let you down. I'll do the best I can to help in this trial. Let's get going, Takuya.
You both took your time.
That doesn't matter now. Let's get this trial started.
I agree. Let's get this over and done with as soon as possible.
If we put our heads together, I'm sure we can get through this.
Thank you, everyone. Now then, let's get this show on the road. We stepped off the elevator and looked around, surprised by what stood before us. It was a large circular room. Perhaps once it was beautiful, but from the ornately decorated walls hung red loud cloth, dimming the room and making it appear darker than it would have been under normal circumstances. In the middle of the room, arranged in another perfect circle, were a series of podiums, expensive by the look of it with dark wood. Between two of the podiums stood what seemed to be an overly decorated throne, like King Solomon vomited all his riches onto it. And sitting on the throne's arm was an ornate birdcage, no door to be had on it, sitting open. It was unsettling, insane, like a scene from a cheap law movie, starkly different from reality. What pulled me back into realizing this wasn't some kind of sick joke was a black and white picture of Seiichi's face, with what looked like blood crossing out his face. A face that was alive just yesterday.
Welcome, welcome! Find a spot wherever you want!
Most everyone reluctantly shuffled into different podiums, Hideki taking a spot next to Seiichi's picture, until the last two spots remaining were the other one next to Seiichi and the one adjacent to that. The only other person who hadn't taken up one of the spots was Mayumi, who stood there frozen with a look of horror on her face, her eyes fixated on Seiichi's picture. She was the one who discovered his body. Her reluctance was understandable. Gently, I grabbed her wrist. Her hand was shaking. Come on. They're waiting for us.
It's him.
Come on, we'll find out what happened. I led Mayumi to the podium and took the one adjacent to Seiichi's picture. I locked eyes with Hideki. We may not like it, but we're in this together. I only know two things for certain. Seiichi is dead, and I didn't kill him.
So everyone, what should we discuss first?
First of all, did Saichi really use his shower last night?
Well, no fucking shit. His body was swinging there like a fucking punching bag.
Thanks for the, mental image, Chiharu. Really appreciate it.
No need to get on your high horse, Miss Priss. We all saw it.
I'm never going to be able to unsee that.
We had a suicide note and everything. It's so fucking obvious he killed himself.
Are you sure it wasn't a trick of some sort? He was a performer after all. Of sorts.
If he was a performer, then why would he make himself his target, dumbass? It wouldn't do him any good. If he wanted to kill someone to get out of here, he should have just been a fucking performer like you said, and made us think that he didn't kill someone. No, it was suicide, plain and simple. I mean, yeah, it was weird and all that he would do that. And the room was a mess, but whatever.
Hold on. I don't think that's right.
Huh? What do you mean it isn't right? We saw him hanging there. It looks like a normal fucking suicide.
We may have saw him hanging there, but it didn't really look like a typical suicide to me.
So you're saying he didn't hang himself? That would imply that one of us killed him instead.
That's bullshit! I can definitely prove that he fucking hanged himself. There's no freaking doubt that he hung himself. Anything else is bullshit.
But can you really be sure of that? We need to be mindful of every possibility that could have taken place.
I'm with Sayuri on this one, guys. I mean, it's just so out of the blue to think he would just hang himself.
But that's what he did. We all saw his body hanging there. That recording we heard in his body. It doesn't make any sense if someone killed him.
I do have to agree that it wouldn't make sense. But Seichi was a strong person.
That's what I'm fucking saying! The marks on his neck prove that he hung himself.
Hold on a second. That's not entirely true at all, Chiharu.
What do you mean by that, dude?
Well, why don't we take a closer look at the evidence?
What evidence?
The bruising around his neck is what I think Takuya is trying to refer to. I examined his neck further to develop an autopsy of some sorts, and the bruises around his neck don't match up with the markings usually found when someone commits suicide.
Just because it's unusual doesn't mean that the option of a suicide, right? So that possibility can still be argued.
It can be further discussed if we want to end up at the wrong conclusion. I firmly believe that this case wasn't suicide because of how his body was.
So he had some weird bruising on his neck. Big deal. That doesn't explain why you think it was a murder.
Kitano, did you not even look at his body? If you just gave it a simple glance, then maybe you'd be thinking from a different stance.
What the fuck do you mean by that?
He's talking about the other parts of Seiichi's body, and how there were other injuries there too.
I noticed that he had some bruises on his arms. They weren't very large, but at first I thought the poor guy did really hurt him. But I think that someone else might be the cause.
So if what you're saying is true, and that the bruisings don't match up, then I'm convinced that this wasn't a suicide too.
The bruisings weren't the only strange thing about Seiichi's body. There was also something about his fingers.
What about his fingers? Were they robotic? Oh, I know! It wasn't his actual hand!
No, that's not what I was going to say at all, Micah. If we take a look at his nails, does it really look like he would hang himself? I mean, why struggle if you've accepted your death? His nails were covered in blood. His own blood from trying to free himself. Those are not the actions of someone trying to live.
So, Seiichi was really murdered by one of us?
Hold on a damn second. I have a small problem with that bullshit.
Keiko? What do you mean by that?
He couldn't have been murdered because I heard his pathetic sobs last night.
Care to elaborate more on that?
I stayed up last night out of pure boredom and heard the news loser sobbing his poor little eyes out while I was heading back to my room to get my well-deserved beauty sleep. Hey, news loser! Are you, okay or something?
Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
Are you really sure? I heard you crying your pathetic eyes out from way down the hall. I would absolutely hate to leave you like this.
Like I said, I'm completely fine. You can go now.
If you say so, news freak. He just pushed me away like I'm nothing. I could have stopped this horrible act from happening. How dare he? Also, his voice was all crackly and sounded very upset. I should have questioned him further, but I was just so tired.
But that's not like Seiichi, right? He isn't the type of person to just push people away when he's down.
Keiko heard Seiichi crying inside of his room. So what?
But it's weird. First, Seiichi was not acting like himself. He wouldn't push people away. Second, his voice. Why would it be cracking?
Isn't it fucking normal for a voice to be cracking? I mean, he was just crying and shit.
It would be normal for his voice to crack about a couple years ago. However, judging on his appearance alone, he's reached an age where that shouldn't be as normal. And that's why I find it strange.
What are you trying to say by that, Sayuri?
Lady Sayuri, are you trying to say that Lady Keiko did not actually hear Sir Seiichi through the door
Are you doubting what my wonderful ears heard, you bookworm bitch? I'm not saying anything of the sort. It's possible that you did hear Seiichi, but it wasn't actually him speaking.
Are you saying that this circus girl didn't actually hear Seiichi through the door and that it was someone else?
Wait, what?
You're saying that it wasn't actually Seiichi who was talking? That doesn't even make any sense.
How could someone sound like someone else?
Keiko, what time did you hear him crying at? I feel like this would clear a few things up.
Well, for your information, builder nerd, it was probably around 11:45 p.m. when I heard him.
That proves that Seiichi couldn't have been the one talking to you then. And it solidifies the fact that he was murdered. Sayuri even told me that his estimated time of death was around 11 p.m.
If Keiko did hear the killer crying through the door, then he must have been killed. But how was he?
We have to figure that out. I'm sure that someone here already knows the answer to that.
What was Seiichi's cause of death? I'm sure we'll work something out, I just know it.
Seiichi's cause of death.
We have a lot of evidence. I just need to think about this carefully.
Seiichi's real cause of death. I wish it didn't have to come down to this.
It sucks. I know. But if we don't figure this out, then I'm pretty sure that we can't continue further.
That's precisely it. Once his real cause of death is brought to light, then we can get this over and done with.
His real cause of death, Oh, I got it! Maybe an alien came out of nowhere, draining his life right out of him!
I don't know whether to be disgusted or laugh at that suggestion. If that was true, then why would he have blood under his fingers?
I don't know! Maybe he was fighting back, or something like that.
Micah, let's try to be a little more realistic. Now, let's see. There was rope there, right? He might have been strangled with that.
Leah, I think you may be onto something here.
So you're saying is that Seiichi was strangled to death? That would mean the killer used the rope, right? Because that's the only thing I can think of.
Actually, there was something else at the crime scene. It was a cord. Micah found it and showed it to me. But I noticed that near the center of the cord, it was slightly damaged.
So you mean to tell me that the cord I found wasn't used for contacting aliens? That's a bummer.
That would probably explain the bruises on his neck. They weren't consistent of those typically found on a suicide victim like I said before. But if it were strangulation, then I'm sure that was what most likely caused it.
Whatever, dipshit. I know what I saw. But if what you're saying is true, that Seiichi really didn't kill himself, then that means one of us fucking killed him.
There's no other alternative, Kitano. Someone in this room is the murderer.
But who would do something like that?
I can think of someone. Sousuke.
Wait, what? Why me? What did I do?
You're obviously one of the strongest people here, beating on your instruments. Someone strong would have to be the one that pulled him up to kill him.
But why would Sousuke do that? I mean, he's been really chill this whole time. We all want to get out, but he wouldn't do that.
Oh, would he?
I look at Hideki curious. There's no reason to suspect Sousuke more than anyone else. There must be some reasoning to this. What's his plan? What's his angle?
Sousuke, why didn't you defend yourself? I mean, if you didn't do it, then you don't have anything to hide.
Okay then.
Where were you last night?
I was drumming away, you know. Can't stop the beat and all that jazz. I mean, it was just in my room, so there's not a lot of proof.
But didn't you come out to get something to eat? I saw you in the dining room. You got some donuts and didn't look stressed out at all.
Did anyone else back you up on that, Mayumi?
Yeah. Ryu, Micah, Yuko, and Arisata were all there with me.
What's so funny?
I think you are thinking way too hard about this. Throwing poor little Sousuke here under the bus was his way of sending out a red herring. Oh, You should know better than to try to trick me. Oh.
Wait, what? How did you figure it out?
Well, let's just say I saw some things.
Care to share that with the rest of the class?
Not really. But do you know who might? Enjiro Asakura, please, step forward.
How may I set forward? There is a podium here.
Oh my gosh. It's an expression. Just what did you see?
I saw nothing unusual, Sir Eizō, other than when I talked to Sir Seichi.
That's not all, Enjiro, and you know it well. We both saw someone else talk to Seichi.
What did you say?
I just happened to be nearby. Enjiro is quite the enigma. I'm getting a lot of inspiration for my art by hanging around him. You could say that he's my current muse.
Enjiro and Eizō saw Seichi? And who is this someone else Eizō mentioned?
Is that why you following me?
Precisely.
Creepy.
Which one are you referring to?
Does it really fucking matter?
I mean, at least he's honest.
Unlike other people here, I just can't stand people who would do something like this.
Let's think of what else was in his room. There were some plastic gloves. They likely belonged to the culprit. Someone about to commit murder would want to keep the mess as minimal as possible, so nothing could connect back to them.
That sounds about right. And since the shower was used, we can assume that they got a bit of blood on them anyway and had to wash up.
There's something I'm still confused about, though. Why was there a glass of salt water in his room?
Oh, that's easy. People who have to use their voice in the industry often have a variety of ways to make sure their throat is cleared. Like using hot tea and honey, or gargling salt water. That's probably what that was for.
But why was it dumped in the sink then? And why would he even need salt water in the first place?
I don't know. Maybe he was doing something like running lines? Because that's what I was doing last night.
The mention of salt water. And why would she be running lines that late at night? I had my suspicions, but I should keep pressing a little further.
Are you okay, Takuya? You seem to be lost in thought.
I'm fine, Sairi. I was just thinking about what we've been discussing so far. And I think we could have found another suspect.
There's another suspect? I don't want to keep accusing my friends like this.
Unfortunately, that's what we have to do. Or everyone else besides the culprit will be punished. Unless that's what you want, I suggest we listen to what Toyonaga has to say.
I am quite interested in what Mr. Takuya has to say. Maybe the true culprit will be revealed.
I can't just outright say at this point who I think the culprit is just yet. I need a little bit more time before I can say it. I have my suspicions on one person, but until I can confirm it, I can't say their name just yet.
You're joking, right? There's no way that you'd just say you have a suspect in mind and not tell the rest of us.
So you'd rather leave us in the dark then? You're more interesting than I thought, Takuya.
I think that Takuya is correct. Outright blaming someone else here will only result in more chaos and hysteria. He'll tell the rest of us when the time is right.
We've been talking for so long. The chances of finding the culprit now seem almost impossible.
We should keep discussing this then. All this back and forth will get us nowhere, and will falter the trial further.
Okay, what should we talk about then? We covered a lot of the information so far, and I can't think of anything else.
How about a shower? I discovered that it was used recently, and water was still dripping onto the tiles of the bathroom.
Perhaps Handsome wanted to have a steamy shower last night. It doesn't hurt to have one once in a while, Starshine.
But why use the one in his room? It doesn't make sense for anyone but him to use it.
I have my doubts that Kurogane was the one to use it, Matsuda. But I'm sure Toyonaga can agree with me.
I have to prove to everyone that Seiichi couldn't have been the one who used this shower because of that part of his hands.
Why would anyone use Seiichi's shower? We all have our own inside our rooms anyway.
There was a detail you all missed about Kuragane's body. It's the clue to solving this puzzle.
It's science! It was something that we can't explain ourselves. We need to look to more unconventional means.
Are you still on about those fantasies? I would doubt those unruly claims without hesitating.
Try to stay on topic, guys. Straying off would only cause more confusion in the long run.
I'm just saying that it's a possibility!
This mystery seems like complex, just like one of my watches. Tick, tick, tick.
It wouldn't seem entirely complex if everyone paid attention to the scene of the crime.
I don't see how anyone could use his shower, except for Seiichi himself. That's what makes the most sense.
His body seemed completely clean to me, so he must have used his shower.
That's not entirely true, Anna. Your claim doesn't match up with the state of his hands.
I'm quite confused, Takuya. Do you mind explaining? How was it someone other than Seiichi that used his shower?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that I understand myself either.
Well, because of his fingernails. We already established that they were bloody underneath. If you were the last one to take a shower, that blood shouldn't be under his fingernails.
So that means someone else used his fucking shower instead of him because of that, right?
That must be the case, because otherwise, his fingernails wouldn't be so dirty.
Alright! So Seiichi didn't use his shower then. I thought it sounded a little off the deep end, you know? Kinda like when a referee shows a red card to your favorite player, even though you think they did nothing wrong.
He didn't use his shower, therefore someone must have used it. This brings us one step closer to solving this puzzle.
Actually, Hideki, I think we can finish solving this puzzle sooner than you think. In fact, I already have figured out who the culprit could have been.
Well, who fucking is it then?
We're reaching the climax, Starshines! I can feel it! Go on, handsome. Tell us who it is.
There's no beating around the bush. I just have to outright say it at this point so we can finally end this trial. I'm sorry to say this, but there's only one person here who can be convincing enough to sound like Seiichi.
I'm Josh Portillo, also known as Saitogami, and I play Eizō Altera.
I'm Natepeach and I play Keiko Araragi.
I'm Bear, and I play Enjiro Asakura.
I'm Krasnik99 and I play Sousuke Enomoto.
I'm AllamaSmiles, and I play Mayumi Hamasaki.
I'm Zaki Suda, and I play Arisato Ichigawa.
I'm JayJitsu, and I play Maika Katayama.
I'm Ali, and I play Chiharu Kitano.
I'm Jaden the Edgy Boyo, or Jaden for short, and I play Seiichi Kurogane.
I'm Epic New Moon, and I play Lia Matsuda.
I'm Haru, and I play Siri Natsume.
I'm Faited, and I play Hideki Saito.
I'm Via the Tortilla, and I play Yuko Nishihara.
I'm Goonstar, and I voice Takuya Toyonaga.
I'm Katie Grigry, and I play the narrator. DR the Audio Project is directed by Krazztar. The head writer is myself, Katie Grigry. We would like to thank all of our amazing crew who worked hard on this project, including writers, editors, and composers. You can see who worked on each episode down in the description. If you want to listen to the project as early as possible, we release 3 days early on Bandcamp. Download the app and go to their website and you can find us there.
Diary entry. Dear Diary, I think I have an idea. Is it stupid? Possibly. Has that stopped me before? No. Stupid ideas are the ones that make you better in the end anyway. So, I'm just going to embrace the insanity. Do you think my idea? I hope so.